The call came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I know the exact time because I was staring at my laptop clock, waiting for a client meeting that was running 12 minutes late. My phone buzzed against the desk, Brett's name lighting up the screen for the third time that week. I almost didn't answer. Should have trusted that instinct. "I need $5,000 by Friday," he said. No hello. No how are you. Just a demand wrapped in urgency like that made it less insulting. I was working from home that day. 3 client calls scheduled, a deployment due at midnight, and approximately 0 patience for whatever crisis Brett had manufactured this time. My studio apartment was small enough that I could see my entire life from my desk chair, kitchenette with dishes I'd washed that morning, bed I'd actually made for once, and a window overlooking the parking lot where my 8-year-old Civic sat like a monument to financial responsibility. "No," I said. Simple. Clear. The first time I'd said that word to Brett in 3 years. The silence on his end stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean no. I'm not giving you $5,000. "It's not giving, it's lending. I'll pay you back." That almost made me laugh. Brett's idea of paying someone back was occasionally buying them lunch with money he'd borrowed from someone else. It was a pyramid scheme of broken promises, and I'd been the foundation for way too long. "You still owe me from last time," I said, pulling up the spreadsheet I'd been keeping. Not that I needed it. The numbers were burned into my brain. $14,000 over the last 3 years, Brett. Not a single payment back. That's different. This is urgent. They're always urgent with you. David, I'm serious. This is important. I rubbed my eyes, feeling that familiar exhaustion that came with being related to Brett. What's it for this time? Does it matter? I need help. You're my brother. And there it was. The family card, played with the confidence of someone who'd never had it declined before. Yeah, it matters. Last time you needed $3,000 for rent, you spent it at a casino. Time before that, you needed $2,000 for car repairs and bought a gaming PC instead. You're keeping track? That's petty. No, that's called pattern recognition. My laptop dinged with a notification. The client meeting starting. Great. I have to go, I said. Wait, I hung up. The meeting ran long, as they always do when you're trying to explain technical concepts to people who think the cloud is an actual cloud. By the time I finished, it was almost 5. I had maybe 6 hours to finish the deployment before deadline, and my brain felt like scrambled eggs. That's when I heard the buzzing at my apartment door. Not a knock. The buzzer. Insistent, aggressive, the kind of buzzing that says someone's leaning on it with their entire body weight. I walked to the intercom. "Yeah? Let me up." "Brett?" "Of course. How do you even know where I live?" I'd moved 4 months ago, specifically didn't tell him the address. Mom gave it to me, buzz me in. I should have said no, should have told him to leave, should have done literally anything except what I did next, which was press the button that unlocked the building door. 3 minutes later, he was standing in my doorway, and I got my first good look at him in months. Brett was 31, 3 years older than me, but you wouldn't know it from looking at him. He dressed like someone trying to cosplay as successful. Expensive sneakers, designer jeans, a watch that cost more than my rent. All of it bought with someone else's money, probably. His hair was that perfect kind of messy that takes product and effort to achieve. His tan was the kind you get from golf courses and day drinking by pools. He looked like he'd never worked an honest day in his life, because he hadn't. "You gonna invite me in?" he asked. "No. Come on, man. Don't be like this." "Like what? Like someone who's busy? Who has work to do? Who doesn't appreciate unannounced visits from people demanding money?" He pushed past me anyway, walking into my apartment like he owned it. Looked around with this expression, somewhere between pity and disgust. "This is where you live?" "Dude, it's tiny. It's what I can afford." "You're making 6 figures doing IT stuff. You could get something better." "I'm making $72,000 doing network security, and I save my money instead of borrowing everyone else's." He sat down on my couch, uninvited, spreading out like he planned to stay a while. "Look, I didn't come here to fight. I came to talk about the $5,000. I already gave you my answer. You didn't even hear me out." I stayed standing, arms crossed. Fine, talk. I got into this investment opportunity. Guy I know, super connected, flipping properties in the Pearl District. All I need is 5,000 to get in. I'll make it back triple by the end of the month. The Pearl District. Of course. The most expensive neighborhood in Portland, where people paid $7 for coffee and called it artisanal. Brett, you don't know anything about real estate? That's why I need a guy who does. This is legitimate. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm offering you an opportunity. Then why don't you get a loan from a bank? His face twitched. Banks are stupid. Too much paperwork. Translation. They won't approve you because you have terrible credit and no income. I have income. From where? Last I heard, you quit that marketing job. I'm freelancing. Freelancing what? Consulting. I actually laughed at that. Brett had been consulting for 2 years, which was code for unemployed but too proud to admit it. I'm not giving you $5,000, I said again. I don't have it to give. Bullshit. You just said you make $72,000 a year. And I have rent, student loans, car insurance, health insurance, savings, retirement. You know, adult responsibilities. He stood up, suddenly aggressive. Prove it. Excuse me? Prove you don't have the money. Show me your bank account. I stared at him. Are you serious? If you don't have it, show me. But I think you're lying. I think you have it, and you're just being selfish. The audacity of this man. Standing in my apartment, demanding money, and now calling me a liar for not giving it to him. Get out. Show me your wallet at least. Prove you're broke like you claim. And here's where I made my mistake. My massive, stupid, irreversible mistake. I was tired, frustrated, operating on 4 hours of sleep and too much coffee. So I pulled out my wallet. Here, I said, opening it. See? I have $37 and a Subway punch card. Happy? But Brett wasn't looking at the $37. He was looking at the separate compartment. The one where I kept client payment cash because the old guy who ran the accounting firm I contracted for preferred paying in $100 bills like it was 1987. $2,000. 20 crisp hundreds that I was supposed to deposit tomorrow morning. What's that? Brett asked, pointing. That's for work. That's $2,000. That's not my money. It belongs to a client. But you have it right now. Brett, I'm depositing it tomorrow. It's payment for a project. It's literally not mine to give away. He reached for the wallet. I pulled back. Let me see it, he said. No. Just let me see. And then he grabbed it. Actually grabbed my wallet right out of my hand like we were kids fighting over a toy. I tried to get it back, but Brett had always been bigger, stronger, better at everything physical. He held it up, looking at the cash. You had $2,000 in your wallet, and you're telling me you can't help your own brother? That's not the same thing. Money is money, David. Give it back. He was already moving toward the door. I followed, that sick feeling growing in my stomach, the one that said this was about to get worse. Brett, seriously, give it back. He walked out of my apartment into the hallway down the stairs. I was right behind him, still in my house slippers and old t-shirt, not caring who saw. We made it outside. The parking lot was empty except for a few cars. The sun was starting to set, that golden hour lighting that made everything look deceptively beautiful. Brett walked to the storm drain at the curb, one of those graded ones that swallow leaves and cigarette butts, and apparently the last of my patience. He held my wallet over it. Say you'll help me. My heart stopped. What are you doing? Say you'll give me the 5,000. Brett, don't. All you have to say is yes. That's it. Just say yes and I'll give this back. I looked at his face. Really looked. Saw something I'd never noticed before. He wasn't joking. He wasn't bluffing. He was serious. Dead serious. No, I said. His hand opened. The wallet fell. Through the grate, into the darkness, into the sewer below. Gone. $2,000, 2 weeks of work, a client's trust, my emergency funds, just gone. Oops, Brett said. He wasn't even trying to look sorry. He was smiling. Actually smiling. That was an accident, slipped right out of my hand. You should have just said yes. I couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. Then I heard a car door slam. Dad's Silverado was parked across the street. He got out, looking between us with confusion. "What's going on?" he asked, walking over. "Brett threw my wallet in the sewer," I said. My voice sounded strange, flat, emotionless. "It slipped," Brett said immediately, his whole demeanor changing, suddenly frantic. "I was just looking at it and it slipped. I swear." Dad looked at him, then at me. "What were you doing with David's wallet?" "He was showing me he didn't have money to lend me, and it slipped. Total accident." I laughed. Actual laughter, the kind that sounds wrong because it is. "He's lying. He held it over the drain and dropped it on purpose because I wouldn't give him $5,000. Dad's face did this thing, this complicated dance of emotions. Confusion, disbelief, frustration. "David, your brother wouldn't—" "There was $2,000 in that wallet, Dad. Client money. He threw it in the sewer because I said no to a loan." Brett threw his hands up. "I said it slipped. Why would I throw away $2,000? That's insane." "Because you're insane," I said quietly. Dad looked tired. He always looked tired these days. "David, even if you don't want to lend him money, you shouldn't have been waving cash around." I blinked. "What? You had $2,000 in your wallet and you wouldn't help your brother?" "That money isn't mine. It's for a client." "Still, family helps family. This could have been avoided if you'd just—" I walked away, mid-sentence, while Dad was still talking, while Brett was still standing there with that stupid smirk. I walked back into my building, up the stairs, into my apartment, closed the door, locked it, put the chain on, sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and started a spreadsheet. Not of the money Brett owed me, though that was $14,000 over 3 years and not a single payment back. This was different. This was a list of every single connection I still had to Brett's life. Every thread that tied us together. Every favor I'd done that kept him floating. His car lease, co-signed 2 years ago when his credit was too bad to qualify a loan. Still liable if he defaulted. His bank account, joint checking from college. We'd opened it for some reason I couldn't remember, never closed it. I was still listed as co-owner with full access. His apartment. I'd put down the security deposit when he moved in last year. Vouched for him with the landlord. My name on the paperwork. His girlfriend Rachel. I'd introduced them at a party 2 years ago. She was my friend first. Insurance beneficiary. He'd listed me as emergency contact when he got that job he lasted 3 months at. Probably still was. Phone plan. He'd asked to add his line to my family plan to save money. Still paying his portion every month. Credit card. He'd added himself as authorized user on my card for emergencies. Never used it, but still had access. I documented everything. Times, dates, amounts, paperwork locations. Then I made 3 phone calls. First, Valley Auto Leasing. "Hi, I need to remove myself as co-signer from account number 4478829B. Can I ask why?" "Personal reasons. I'm no longer willing to be responsible for this debt. The primary account holder will need to refinance or qualify on their own. If he can't, we'll have to repossess the vehicle." "I understand. This is effective immediately?" "Yes." Second, First National Bank. I need to report suspicious activity on joint account ending in 3344. "What kind of activity?" "Large cash withdrawals? Unusual spending patterns? I'm concerned the other account holder is engaging in fraudulent behavior. We'll need to freeze the account pending investigation." "That's fine." Third call wasn't actually a call. It was a text to Rachel. "Hey, got time for coffee tomorrow morning? There's something about Brett you should know." She responded within 30 seconds. "Sure. 9 a.m. at the usual place?" "Perfect." I closed my laptop. Looked at the clock. 8:47 p.m. My client work was still waiting. The deployment still due at midnight. I made fresh coffee, sat back down, worked. Finished at 2:53 a.m. Delivered 4 hours early because that's what professionals do. Even when their brother throws their wallet in a sewer. Even when their father takes the wrong side. even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Set my alarm for 7. Went to bed and slept better than I had in 3 years. The phone started ringing at 6:47 a.m., 13 minutes before my alarm was supposed to go off. I looked at the screen through sleep-crusted eyes. Brett. I let it ring. It stopped. Started again immediately. Brett again. Third time, I answered. What? What did you do? His voice was pure panic. They just took my car. I sat up, suddenly very awake. Good morning to you too. Don't good morning me, a tow truck just showed up. Said the cosigner removed himself from the lease. They took my car, David. I walked to my kitchen, started the coffee maker. Huh, that's unfortunate. Unfortunate? I have a meeting at 9. How am I supposed to get there? You've got $47,000 in the bank, Brett. Take an Uber. Silence. Long, heavy silence. How do you know? Joint account, remember? College. You never removed me. I can see every transaction you make. That's my money. And my wallet had my $2,000. Client money. Guess we both lost something. David, you can't just... I hung up. The coffee was still brewing, but I poured it anyway, half strength and steaming. Stood at my window watching the sunrise paint the parking lot gold. My Civic sat where I'd left it, exactly where it was supposed to be. Reliable. Paid off. Mine. The phone rang again. Dad this time. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. What did you do to your brother's car? Good morning, Dad. I slept well. Thanks for asking. This isn't funny. Brett called me at 6:30 crying about his car being repossessed. I removed myself as co-signer. He couldn't requalify on his own. That's not my problem. You sabotaged him. Over what, a mistake? An accident? It wasn't an accident, and I didn't sabotage anything. I co-signed as a favor 2 years ago when his credit was terrible. Asked him to refinance last year so I could get out of the lease. He ignored me for 12 months. Yesterday, he threw my wallet in a sewer. I'm done being his safety net. He said it slipped. Rachel has text messages from him bragging about it, saying I needed to learn about family loyalty. Want me to forward them to you? Long pause. I could hear Dad breathing, that heavy sound he makes when he's trying to control his temper. Rachel? His girlfriend Rachel? Ex-girlfriend as of this morning, actually. She left after I showed her the texts. David, what are you doing? I'm removing myself from his life. All the ways I've been propping him up, covering for him, enabling him. I'm done. You're destroying his life out of spite. No, Dad. I'm letting his life reflect his choices for once. There's a difference. I hung up before he could respond. The coffee was ready. I poured a real cup, added cream, sat down at my desk. Opened my laptop to check work emails. 3 new messages from the client, thanking me for the early delivery, asking about next steps. Normal, professional, the kind of communication that happens when people do what they say they'll do. My phone buzzed. Text from Brett. My bank account is frozen. Frozen. They said fraud investigation. What did you tell them? I took a sip of coffee before responding. Didn't tell them anything that wasn't true. You spent $3,200 at a club last night, while claiming you needed $3,000 from me for urgent expenses. That's textbook suspicious activity. The dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. You're destroying me. No, Brett. I'm just not saving you anymore. I muted the conversation and went back to work emails. At 8:45, I walked to Courier Coffee. The place was busy with the morning rush. People in business casual clutching lattes, having those pre-work meetings that never actually accomplish anything. I grabbed a table in the corner, ordered an Americano, and waited. Rachel showed up at 8:53. She looked tired. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt. The opposite of her usual put-together self. She sat down without ordering anything. I left him this morning, she said immediately. Before you even texted me, I'd already packed a bag. I blinked. What happened? He came home at 3 a.m. last night. Drunk. Started ranting about you, about money, about how the family always loved you more. Made no sense. Then he passed out on the couch. She pulled out her phone, opened her messages, handed it to me. Brett's texts from last night, sent at 2:47 a.m. Showed David who's boss today. Made him watch me drop his wallet in the sewer, lol. He'll learn. Family takes care of family. Should have seen his face. There were more. Screenshots of his bank balance, photos from the club, bottles on the table, friends I didn't recognize. A video of him laughing, saying something about teaching little brothers lessons. I woke up and saw these, Rachel said quietly. Realized I'd been dating someone I didn't know at all. Rachel, I'm sorry. Don't be. You tried to tell me. 6 months ago when you said he was borrowing money from people and not paying back. I thought you were exaggerating. Being dramatic. She took a breath, steadying herself. He told me he needed $5,000 for an investment opportunity 3 weeks ago. Real estate flip in the Pearl District. Said his partner needed capital and it was a sure thing. I gave it to him from my savings. My stomach dropped. Rachel, there is no investment. I called the guy he mentioned. Left a voicemail. He called back this morning, said he hasn't talked to Brett in over a year. Has no idea what I'm talking about. Where did the money go? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Club last night? That's probably where. Or the casino. Or whatever other holes he throws money into. We sat in silence. Around us, people ordered coffee, complained about traffic, lived normal lives where their brothers didn't throw wallets in sewers and their boyfriends didn't scam them out of $5,000. I'm staying with my sister, Rachel said finally. Already moved my stuff out. Blocked his number. I'm done. I'm really sorry this happened. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you sooner. She stood up, grabbed her bag. Thanks for meeting me. And David? Whatever you're doing to him? Don't stop. He needs to face consequences for once in his life. She left before I could respond. I sat there finishing my coffee, thinking about Brett. About how many people he'd burned. How many times someone had bailed him out, smoothed things over, given him one more chance. Not anymore. My phone rang again. Mom this time. David, sweetheart, what's going on? Your father called me very upset. Something about Brett's car? Hi, Mom. How are you? Don't do that. Just tell me what happened. I gave her the short version. The loan request, the wallet, the storm drain. My decision to remove myself as co-signer. But honey, he needs that car for work. He hasn't had steady work in 2 years, Mom. He's been consulting. He's been unemployed. There's a difference. She was quiet for a moment. This seems extreme. Over one incident. It's not one incident. It's 3 years of incidents. $14,000 in unpaid loans. Constant requests for money. Lies about what he needs it for. And yesterday he threw $2,000 of client money in a sewer because I said no to him. He said it was an accident. He texted Rachel bragging about it. Want me to forward those to you too? Another long silence. Rachel? What does she have to do with this? She left him this morning after seeing texts where he bragged about dropping my wallet. Also found out he scammed her out of $5,000 for a fake investment. Oh, David, that can't be right. It is right, and I'm done pretending it isn't. But he's your brother. There it was. The thing they always said. The trump card. Yeah, Mom, he is. And for 3 years I've been a good brother. I've loaned him money, co-signed loans, vouched for him, covered for him. What has he done for me? She didn't answer. Yesterday I needed help. My wallet was literally being held over a sewer drain. Dad was standing right there. Neither of you helped me. You both took his side. We didn't take sides, you called it an accident even though I told you it wasn't. You blamed me for having cash in my wallet. You said I should have just given him the money. That's taking sides, Mom. David, please, can we just talk about this calmly? I am calm, probably the calmest I've been in years. Then can you please undo whatever you did? With the car and the bank account? Your father says Brett is having a breakdown. No. David, I didn't do anything to him, Mom. I just stopped protecting him from himself. If he's having a breakdown, it's because reality finally caught up. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. I hung up before she could guilt-trip me further. Walked back to my apartment, past the storm drain where my wallet had disappeared. Looked at it for a long moment, then kept walking. Back inside, I opened my laptop. 3 more work emails. A project proposal that needed review. An invoice to send. Normal life. My life. The one I'd built while Brett was busy destroying his. My phone buzzed one more time. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Brett from Marcus's phone. They won't let me access my account. I need money for food. Can you at least Venmo me something? I stared at the message, then blocked the number, went back to work, and didn't think about him for the rest of the day. Week 1 was quiet in the way that hurricanes have eyes. Brett didn't call, didn't text, went completely silent, which should have felt like relief but instead felt like the calm before something worse. Dad called twice. I didn't answer. Mom sent 3 emails with subject lines like, "Please read," and "We need to talk," that I archived without opening. Work was good. The client from the midnight deployment sent a new project proposal, bigger scope, better pay. I said yes immediately. Started mapping out timelines, deliverables, milestones, things I could control, things that made sense. On Thursday, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Portland area code. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Is this David?" A man's voice. Older, tired. "Who's asking?" "This is Mike Chen. I'm your brother's landlord. You're listed as guarantor on his lease." My stomach dropped. Okay. Brett's 2 months behind on rent. I've been patient, but I need to know if you're going to cover it or if I need to start eviction proceedings. 2 months. That was $2,400. $2,400 Brett had claimed he needed for urgent expenses while sitting on $47,000 in the bank. "I'm not covering it," I said, "and I'm removing myself as guarantor effective immediately. I'll send you written notice today." That's going to leave him in a difficult position. That's not my problem anymore. Mike was quiet for a moment. "Look, I don't know what happened between you two, but he's going to lose his apartment. He won't be able to rent anywhere else with an eviction on his record. Then he should have paid his rent." "Fair enough. I'll start the paperwork tomorrow." After he hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. Felt something that might have been guilt if I hadn't been so exhausted. Brett was about to be homeless. Because of me. No, not because of me. Because he spent rent money at clubs and casinos while telling everyone he was broke. I wrote the letter to Mike removing myself as guarantor. Sent it certified mail. Documented everything. That weekend, I ran into Brett's friend Marcus at the grocery store. We'd met a few times at parties. Seemed like a decent guy. He recognized me in the produce section. "Hey, David, you seen Brett lately?" "No, why?" Marcus looked uncomfortable. "He's been crashing on my couch for a few days. Said something about his apartment situation being temporary. Just wondered if you knew what was going on. His landlord's evicting him for non-payment of rent." "Shit." He said it was a misunderstanding with the property management company. "It's not. He's 2 months behind and has $47,000 sitting in a frozen bank account because he reported suspicious activity after gambling away thousands at clubs." Marcus's face changed. "Wait, the bank account thing, that was you?" I reported what I saw. Large cash withdrawals, casino transactions, lying about needing money for rent. That's suspicious activity. "Dude, that's harsh." "You know what's harsh? Throwing someone's wallet with $2,000 in it down a sewer drain because they won't give you more money." Marcus blinked. "He did what?" "Ask him. Or ask Rachel. She left him after seeing the texts where he bragged about it." I grabbed my groceries and left Marcus standing there looking like I'd just told him Santa wasn't real. Week 2 brought a new development. Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced on a Tuesday evening. I saw her through the peephole, standing in the hallway holding a Tupperware container. Her peace offering face was on. The one she wore when she wanted something but was pretending it was for my benefit. I opened the door. "Hi, honey. I brought you dinner. That pasta thing you used to like." "I'm not hungry." "Can I come in, please?" I stepped aside. She walked in, looking around my apartment like she was searching for evidence of something. Evidence of what? I had no idea. You've redecorated, she said. I moved 4 months ago. You've never been here before. That landed. She set the Tupperware on my counter, suddenly very interested in the container lid. Your father and I are worried about Brett. Okay. He lost his apartment. He's staying with friends. He can't access his bank account. His car is gone. David, he has nothing. He has $47,000. He just can't access it until the fraud investigation clears. That could take weeks. 2 weeks, actually. That's the standard time frame. Mom turned to face me. You did this on purpose. You systematically destroyed his life because he made one mistake. He made hundreds of mistakes, Mom. I just stopped cleaning them up. He's your brother. And for 3 years I acted like it. I loaned him money he never paid back. I co-signed loans. I vouched for him. I covered his rent deposit. I introduced him to Rachel so he'd have someone stable in his life. What did I get in return? She didn't answer. Yesterday, Rachel texted me. Wanted to thank me for warning her. Told me Brett had been lying about having a job. The consulting work? Doesn't exist. Hasn't existed for over a year. He's been living off borrowed money and his savings, lying to everyone about working. Mom's face went pale. That can't be right. Call Rachel yourself, or check his LinkedIn, or ask him directly. But you won't, because you don't want to know the truth. The truth? The truth is you're punishing him because you've always been jealous. That one actually made me laugh. Jealous? Of what? His unemployment? His gambling problem? His $47,000 he's burning through partying while telling everyone he's broke? Jealous that he's always been more charismatic, more likable. People gravitate to Brett. They always have. I stared at her. Get out. David, get out of my apartment, Mom. Take your pasta. And don't come back until you're ready to see Brett for who he actually is, not who you wish he was. Her face did something complicated. Hurt and anger, and something that might have been recognition. She picked up the Tupperware without a word and left. I closed the door and leaned against it. Heard her footsteps fade down the hallway. Heard the building door close behind her. Felt nothing. Just empty, exhausted numbness. Week 3 brought the encounter I'd been dreading. I was at my gym, the cheap 24-hour place that smells like sweat and broken dreams. 11 p.m. on a Thursday because that's when it's empty. Just me, some guy doing curls in the mirror, and whatever demons we were both trying to exorcise away. I finished my set, grabbed my water bottle, turned around. Brett was standing by the entrance, looking thinner, scruffier, wearing clothes I recognized from 2 years ago, the ones he used to wear before he started buying designer everything. We stared at each other across 20 feet of rubber mats and broken ellipticals. He walked over slowly, hands in his pockets. No phone in sight, which meant he still couldn't afford to replace the one that was probably in the frozen bank account. Can we talk? He asked. His voice was different, smaller. Nothing to talk about. 5 minutes, please. The guy doing curls was watching us now, pretending not to. I nodded toward the exit. We walked outside into the parking lot. The night air was cold, that sharp Portland cold that cuts through everything. Brett leaned against my car. I stayed standing a few feet away. I'm sorry, he said. I waited. I'm sorry about the wallet, about demanding money, about all of it. I was drunk, I was frustrated, I wasn't thinking. And I know that's not an excuse, but I'm sorry. Okay? That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Brett? That I forgive you? That we're good now? We're not good. We might never be good. I lost everything. My car, my apartment, Rachel, my friends. Marcus won't return my calls. Mom and Dad won't stop fighting about you. Everything is falling apart. You had $47,000. You weren't broke. You were lying. His face twitched. How do you know about that? Joint bank account. I've been able to see your balance the whole time. Watched you spend $3,000 at a club the same day you told me you needed $5,000 for an investment. That was... I can explain that. Don't bother. I know what it was. I know you lied to Rachel. I know you haven't had a job in over a year. I know you've been living off savings and borrowed money while telling everyone you're consulting. Brett was quiet. The parking lot light above us flickered, casting weird shadows across his face. The fraud investigation cleared yesterday, he said finally. I can access my account again. Good for you. There's 32,000 left. After rent, after bills I'd been ignoring, after reality caught up, 32,000 from 47. $15,000 in 3 weeks. Gone. I'm moving back in with mom and dad, he continued. They're letting me use the basement until I figure things out. Find a real job, get my life together. That's probably good. Is it? Because part of getting my life together means figuring out what happened to us. We used to be close. No, we didn't. You used to need things and I used to provide them. That's not the same as being close. That's not fair. You threw my wallet in a sewer, Brett. Stood there and held it over a drain and dropped it because I said no to you. What part of that is me being unfair? He looked down at his shoes. The expensive sneakers were gone, replaced by old running shoes with holes in the mesh. I'm trying to apologize. And I'm telling you I don't care. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm done. I spent 3 years being your backup plan, your safety net, your bank. I'm not doing it anymore. So that's it? We're just not brothers anymore? We'll always be related, but being brothers, that's earned. And right now, you haven't earned it. I got in my car, started the engine. Brett stepped back, watching me through the windshield. Drove away without looking back. Got home, took a shower, stood under the water until it ran cold. Checked my phone. Message from work. Another project accepted, timeline approved. Message from Rachel. Heard Brett tried to talk to you. You okay? I typed back, yeah, I'm good. And for the first time in weeks, I actually meant it. Month 2 arrived quietly. No dramatic calls, no parking lot confrontations, just silence and the steady rhythm of my actual life. Work projects, gym sessions, coffee with Rachel who'd become a real friend instead of just my brother's ex. Normal things. Good things. I heard about Brett through the family grapevine, the one that still existed even though I'd cut my own line. Mom mentioned in a brief, awkward text that he'd gotten a job at Target. Retail associate, stocking shelves, customer service. 40 hours a week at $16 an hour. I did the math automatically. $2,600 a month before taxes. Maybe $2,000 after. Living in my parents' basement rent-free, but still. That was barely survival money in Portland. Part of me felt something about that. Not satisfaction exactly. Maybe just recognition that reality had finally showed up to the party. Week 6, I saw him. I was grabbing coffee at the place near my apartment, the local shop that did pour-overs and didn't blast music at you. Stood in line behind a woman ordering something complicated with oat milk and extra shots, mentally reviewing my afternoon meeting agenda. Then I saw him through the window. Brett was across the street in his Target uniform. Red polo, khakis, name tag catching the afternoon light. He was on break, eating something from a paper bag, scrolling on his phone. He looked tired in a way I'd never seen before. Not hungover tired or stayed up partying tired. Just regular exhausted from working a real job tired. He looked up. Our eyes met through the glass. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he did something I didn't expect. He nodded. Just once. A small acknowledgement that said, I see you, without demanding anything. I nodded back. He went back to his sandwich. I got my coffee and left. That was it. No conversation, no drama. Just two people who used to be brothers existing in the same city, acknowledging each other's existence without needing anything more. It felt right somehow. Week 8 brought something unexpected. A letter from Dad. Not an email. An actual handwritten letter in the mailbox. My address in his cramped handwriting. A stamp slightly crooked like he'd been rushing. I almost threw it away. Stood there in my apartment building lobby, holding it, debating whether whatever he had to say was worth the headspace. Curiosity won. I opened it, standing right there. David, I've been trying to write this for 3 weeks. Keep starting and stopping because I don't know how to say I was wrong without it sounding like I'm making excuses. But I was wrong. About everything. About taking Brett's side. about blaming you for having cash in your wallet, about calling you cruel when you set boundaries. Your mother and I have been learning things about Brett these past 2 months. Things we should have seen years ago but didn't want to. The lies about working, the gambling, the way he's burned through relationships and friendships and money. He's living in our basement now, working retail, actually showing up on time, which your mother treats like a miracle. Maybe it is. He talks about you sometimes. Says you were right about him. Says he doesn't blame you for walking away, that he'd have walked away from himself too if he could. I don't know if that's growth or just good PR from someone who's learned to say what people want to hear. Time will tell. I'm not asking you to forgive him. I'm not asking you to forgive me either, though I hope someday you might. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. See what you were dealing with. See why you had to walk away. You tried to tell me. I didn't listen. That's on me. Your mother says I should call instead of writing a letter like it's 1952. But I thought you might prefer something you could read on your own time. Something you didn't have to respond to if you didn't want to. Take care of yourself, son. Dad. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer next to my birth certificate and passport. Important documents. Things that marked transitions. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't know what to say yet. Maybe someday I would. Maybe not. That was okay too. Month 3 came with spring weather and better projects. My client base had grown. I'd raised my rates twice and people were still hiring me. Turns out when you're reliable and good at what you do, you can charge what you're worth. I moved into a bigger apartment. 1 bedroom, actual separate spaces, a kitchen where 2 people could stand without touching, windows that faced east so I got morning light. Rachel helped me move. We ordered pizza and sat on my new couch, not from Craigslist this time, actual furniture from an actual store, and talked about nothing important. Her new job, my projects, a show we were both watching. You seem different, she said at one point. Different how? Lighter, like you're not carrying something heavy anymore. She was right. I'd been carrying Brett for 3 years. His debts, his lies, his chaos, and the weight of trying to make my family see what I saw, believe what I knew, acknowledge what they kept denying. Putting that down had changed something fundamental. I ran into him last week, Rachel said carefully. At Target. I was buying dish soap. How'd that go? Awkward. He apologized. Said he was sorry for lying about the investment, about everything. Asked if we could talk sometime. What did you say? I said maybe someday, but not now. That I needed more time. That's fair. He asked about you, if I'd seen you. I said yes, that we're friends now. He seemed happy about that. Sad, but happy, if that makes sense. It did make sense. Brett was losing things and learning consequences and maybe, possibly, growing. Or maybe just learning to perform growth better. Time would tell. You ever think about talking to him? Rachel asked. I thought about the nod through the coffee shop window, the acknowledgement without obligation, the distance that felt healthy instead of hostile. Maybe eventually, but not now. Maybe not for a long time. That's fair too. We finished our pizza. She left around 10. I stood in my new apartment, my actual grown-up space that I'd earned through work and boundaries, and finally learning to say no. Pulled out my laptop and opened that spreadsheet I'd made the night Brett dropped my wallet. The list of all our connections, all the ways I'd been tied to his life. Looked at it for a long moment. Then deleted it. Didn't need it anymore. The connections were already gone. The only thing left was the relationship we'd maybe rebuild someday, or maybe wouldn't. Either way was okay. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I'd unblocked recently. Brett. Saw you got a new place. Marcus mentioned it. Hope it's good. Hope you're good. I stared at the message for a full minute, then typed back, thanks. You too. Short, neutral, but not hostile. He sent back a thumbs up emoji. That was it. I set the phone down and looked around my apartment. My space, my life. Built from scratch after walking away from people who loved me but couldn't see me. Who needed me but didn't value me. Who wanted me around but only on their terms. Some people will only see the problem when the solution stops showing up. They'll take and take until you finally stop giving. Then they'll call you the problem, the cruel one, the person who destroyed everything. But setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's survival. And sometimes the people who love you most will be the last ones to understand that. Brett was learning. Maybe. Probably. Time would tell. Dad was learning. Sent a letter instead of demands. Mom was still learning. We'd texted twice and she came to my apartment. Short messages. Careful. Distant, but not cold. And me? I'd learned the most important lesson of all. You can't force people to value you. You can't make them see what they're determined to ignore. All you can do is decide what you're willing to accept and build your life accordingly. I built mine on solid ground, with boundaries that held, with relationships that were reciprocal, with work that paid me what I was worth and friends who showed up. The wallet Brett dropped in the sewer? Never got it back. Had to replace everything, spend hours on hold with credit card companies and the DMV. But I gained something more valuable. The knowledge that I could walk away from dysfunction and survive. More than survive. Thrive. 3 months after Brett threw my wallet in a storm drain, I was standing in my new apartment with morning light streaming through clean windows, coffee in hand, work I loved waiting on my laptop, no debt, no drama, no desperate calls at 6:47 a.m., just peace. And maybe someday, there'd be room for Brett in this life I'd built. Room for my parents. Room for reconciliation. But that day wasn't today. Today, I had client meetings and gym sessions and dinner plans with Rachel. Today, I had a life that was mine. And that was enough.